Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Post. I cannot wait to welcome one of your B2B socials rising 30 stars to the show. Our next guest is the digital content and global media manager at Teammate. Prior to Teammate, he worked in multiple growth startups, consulting with executives on building their digital presence and their media strategies. Throughout his career in the private and public sectors, his commentary and research has been featured in CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, BBC, and many others. But most notably, and I'm sure he could agree with me, that one of the most exciting places he's been featured is one of 2025's B2B Social's Rising 30 Stars. So without further ado, join me in giving a huge warm welcome to Ilan Fisher. Ilan, are you ready to go behind the post with me?
Absolutely, Alina. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you for joining. To kick us off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Teammate?
Absolutely. So yeah, my career has kind of taken a few very interesting turns. I started off my career and early career in politics. So I grew up in England, spent a little bit of time in Israel, New York, South African parents. Like kind of my whole goal when I was a kid and when I went into my studies was I was looking to really make an impact and social impact. I had a few roles in politics and realized kind of the pace was a little bit too slow. So then when I moved into my career in tech, I wanted to look at companies which were making an impact. Started off in an accessibility startup and then moving into kind of the disinformation analysis space, which is what brought me to cybersecurity. Long story short, I ended up at Teammate. Teammate is a very unique venture fund. We're based in Tel Aviv and New York with over $1 billion under management. We both build and invest in companies. So the traditional VC model is you'll have a bank of companies that you invest in, you'll provide them some sort of support, and then you'll say, good luck, we're here to make introductions, we're here to facilitate X, Y, and Z. Um, but we're providing you your capital at whatever terms and good luck. At Teammate, we kind of flip that a little bit around. We would really deeply ideate with the market, understand kind of what areas companies need to be built in. We'll go ahead, find those founders, pair them with the idea, and go ahead and build companies. That was really successful early on. Then we also, after our initial success, started a traditional VC fund. So yeah, my role at Teammate is kind of split into two. On the one side, working on the brand side, managing our socials on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and kind of trying different things out the whole time, as well as kind of working closely with our executives on their pages. Then on the other side, it's taking that experience, but also showing our portfolio some of the best practices. Here are the trends that we're seeing. Here is like the new media company that you have to be on. Here's the list you have to be on, and really consulting with them and saying, you're starting your journey. Here's how we get you from -1 to one. So yeah, it's something that I really enjoy. I get to work with a lot of different companies, a lot of different vendors, a lot of different ecosystem players. So for someone who's got like a little bit of ADD and who's jumping around from idea to idea, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what we do.
Awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that. And you clearly can't have 2 days at the same. So I feel like for you, it's very interesting what you're doing. And I know what's even more interesting is you have a huge interest in memes in B2B, and that is what we're diving into in this episode. So can we start simple, set the scene, and break it down? What exactly is a meme?
A really good question because there's a lot of misconceptions about what a meme is. Some people think, it's a graphic where you can change one thing or change another thing, add a little caption, and that's the meme. But memes are like a kind of more of a cultural phenomenon. It could be an image, it could be a song, it could be a TikTok trending sound, it could be a stock right now. Like right now, there's this whole discussion of, yeah, GameStop in 2021. That's also memes. You have Astronomer right now that became a meme within itself. So it's a company. So I think it's much more of like a cultural type of phenomenon rather than what you would think was like 2 or 3 years ago, where you have like, Drake being relaxed and Drake dancing like in Hotline Bling. It's much, much deeper than that. So I think there isn't yet um, a one definition that the industry is taking, but I kind of think of it as more of a cultural type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely the go-to guy for memes. I feel like you know all of them clearly. So I also think from a social media manager point of view, it's quite hard to always not only just identify them and know what they are, but to catch them while they're still trending. And we
Yeah.
know memes come and go really quickly. Sometimes before even I see them, they're gone. So where do you usually spot the good ones early?
So the the first thing there's a like common joke within kind of like the meme community that like we can't wait to see this on LinkedIn next week. So the
Yeah.
early answer is not on LinkedIn, because if you see it on LinkedIn, it's probably a little bit too late, but we'll get kind of that to earlier. I think there's like two or three tactics that I use. One is like really curating my X feed. So X, I think if you look at like kind of its popularity rate in the past couple of years, it's gone like it's really steering again, particularly in the tech community. Again, we do B2B marketing for tech, so that's kind of like where our audience is. So I think it's curating your X feed with a lot of people who are using meme marketing. So that's companies like Ramp, Brex, McDonald's are doing it. Ironically, sports clubs are the best places to look. I
Interesting.
usually follow I usually follow the TikTok of the sports teams to see what's going to be trending on TikTok first, then X, then LinkedIn. So that's like on the tactical point of where I look, and then we can get a little bit deeper into that like later on as well. I also use this technology called Meme Lord marketing. So or Meme Lord Tech, sorry, which is like a meme marketing platform where they send you the trending memes that are happening every single day, and they have an editor in-house. So it's like I'm getting the email, I'm refreshing the page, and I already have the templates of what's trending. And the third one, which is even a little bit more niche, and that's more for like kind of people who are like quite advanced, this is looking at like what are the meme stocks right now, because those usually reflect what are the trending memes. So I would say Twitter, there's Meme Lord Tech, and looking at those kind of stocks. And
Yeah.
between that, you're going to get a pretty decent idea. But the fourth thing that I would say is also looking at like what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Instagram, because those are the platforms where you're going to get people who are a little bit more out there and a little bit more chronically online. And that's where the memes and popular culture are going to pop out from.
Yeah. Well, clearly you're definitely the right person to bring on. I didn't expect you to give me four foolproof ways of how you can find a meme. So you've really got that locked down, and now I understand how you spot them when they're trending,
Yeah.
not on LinkedIn and before. So how do you then decide as a brand whether to jump on it or skip it?
Good question. I think as a brand, like you always got to think what's the business goal? And that's like with everything in B2B marketing. You could say, okay, like this is purely just to get eyeballs, and that's fine, but why you want to get eyeballs? Do you want to get eyeballs for your product? Do you want to get eyeballs because nobody knows who you are yet? Do you want to get eyeballs because it's your way of getting noticed by certain people who will find it funny? Or not even find it funny and amusing. So I think there's like first of all, you have to ask that question. And then the second question is also what's your risk tolerance? Like a lot of memes are kind of tying or dissecting through social issues, they're dissecting through politics, they're dissecting through a lot of different things that your company may not want to take a stand on and may implicitly making a stand on it. So I think that's like that's something really important. You got to also think there's a lot of meme formats that are like safe for work. There are ones which are less safe for work. I think there's like a whole spectrum of what social media managers can do. And you have to kind of really deeply understand, okay, how does this resonate with my audience? How does this resonate with my stakeholders, my board, my advisors, my employees? Like
Yeah.
it's in the same way that you would think about putting out any other post, you would think about when you're using meme marketing. So I think there's like a lot of examples of certain companies that overstep at the boundary, as well as other companies where, on the other hand, they can be taking more risks, but don't necessarily do it.
Yeah. I think there's definitely this balance of some companies playing it really safe and then some taking it a little bit risky. But it's the same as you're saying with any post. Like your audience has to come in mind, your company values come in mind, and also the messaging that you have need to play a role in it. So we've kind of gone into the like, do you jump on it? Do you skip it? Is it risky? Is it not? And like determining that balance. So on the same note, when do you think it's officially too late to use a meme? Is there like this cutoff point where it's like too far gone, you've missed it, like don't go there?
So I think there's like we spoke a little bit about it earlier, but like once it's been on LinkedIn for like 3 days, Step
Well, 3
away.
days, that's it.
You've missed it
Okay.
because it's already been on X for 3 days before. It's probably been on TikTok for a day before, or Reddit, or wherever kind of the meme generates. But what I will say, if you've missed a meme, 3 months later is a great time to re-jump on it because it's still fresh in people's minds, and then they're going to be like, "Hey, I remember that. That was hilarious. I completely forgot that the Coldplay concert happened." And
Okay.
they're going to be like, "Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense." But I think if you jump on it slightly too late,
Yeah.
it's not going to be the right time. And again, it goes back to using your sense of where does this affect my stakeholders?
Yeah.
Where can this put my business forward? Because it's almost like as a social media manager, almost being late is better than not posting, is worse than not posting at all
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you could you
That is,
could you could already burn your reputation by being okay, these people are really late to the
yeah,
party.
yeah. There's like a big feeling when you're like, wow, this brand nailed it. And you're like, oh, this brand's doing this still. Like, oh, this is still.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. If you don't make it in the first 3 days, it's okay. 3 months you can
Hmm.
jump in. And to those people that have like massive approval workflows, this is actually kind of good news. You had it here first. You can post it three months late, I guess.
Yeah, I think the ones like I was really impressed. There were a lot of brands. I don't know if you remember the morning routine meme.
No, I don't think I do. This is
So Ashton Hall, who's this fitness influencer, would wake up every morning at like 3 and had this really elaborate morning routine. And I
okay.
was super impressed. And it was like going super viral on TikTok. Then it made it to Twitter. And within like 12 hours already, like McDonald's was on it, Red Bull was on it,
Wow.
Coca-Cola, like all the top brands were doing it. And it
Yeah.
just shows that it's like for the right meme, like the approval workflows will be quick. So I think there is hope that
Yeah.
people will people will make it through the approvals.
Yeah, there's always hope for social media managers. That's definitely true. We kind of touched on the next question I asked you, but I kind of want to like dive into it a tiny bit more. We spoke about taking the risk and not taking the risk and values and things like that. So where do you really think a brand should draw the line with memes? Like how do you balance being funny and out there without going off brand and losing your audience?
So it's a good question. It's something I think about a lot. I think there's like I go back to this the whole time and it almost sounds like the broken record of disclaimer. It's like think about your stakeholders, but you always have to think about your stakeholders. You have to think about um, who is this going to potentially offend, and there's obviously like a spectrum when it comes to me. That's where some brands need to kind of draw the line and say, okay, let's rethink this because a meme is usually a really good indication that you have like product market fit because you're making an inside joke with
Yeah,
your audience, you're making an inside joke with your customers. Um, and sometimes you could be missing the mark if that audience is kind of alienated. So I think that's one example. It doesn't mean that politicians shouldn't be memeing. I like love when people don't take themselves too seriously.
he loves a meme.
Um, and I think it's another way to think about it is also like people themselves, because they're people, can take much more calculated risks when it comes to memes or human-based marketing. Like I've seen this, OpenAI are quite good at the human-based marketing um, idea, but Sam Altman himself is absolutely brilliant. So like he'll be replying to users with really witty one-liners. So I
Mm,
think it's like sometimes you could say maybe us as a brand, we want to stick away with it, but as an executive, this really suits executive X or executive Y, and we can move forward with that kind of strategy. So I think there's like you can be quite strategic in saying on our X page, we're going to be really funny. On our LinkedIn page, we're going to be really serious. On our blog pages, we're going to be even more serious. Or you could say we're going to be serious across all of this board, but our TikTok is unhinged and we kind of let it go wild. So I think there's a delicate balance because some of the things that people share on LinkedIn don't necessarily land
yeah,
with different platforms. So
definitely.
it's a very complicated one because
Yeah.
you don't really know the line until you have the feedback.
But you've got to
But
practice it to know that. So just
yeah,
practice.
you also have to listen to your audience at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it seems like you've got this backing at Team 8, but I'm actually interested to ask you because not everybody working in social has leadership support for using memes. Sometimes they want
Mhm.
to be a bit more serious. So if you didn't always have it, how did you get the backing, and what would you give advice to somebody trying to build that case today?
Good question. It wasn't always the case. I think it's like an
Interesting.
ongoing discuss. It's an ongoing discussion, and
Yeah.
we're like the conversation that we're having is really like a product of the conversations that I've been having with different executives as well as kind of the wider ecosystem as well. Um, One of the things is really just showing other people doing it. So we spoke about Sam Altman.
Mhm.
A lot of different investors, for example, are, excuse my French, shit posting their way to getting great jobs or getting great investments. You see, like the head of product at X was a former investor at Lightspeed, and he himself was using a lot of the kind of these meme marketing tactics to get eyeballs in certain people. So I think it's like really making a business case for it and saying, you know what, this is a way to grab attention. This is a way, this is what we're seeing from a lot of the Silicon Valley startups that are really going into hyper growth. So it's almost like taking non-serious marketing super seriously
Yeah.
and saying, here are the trends that we're seeing in media. Here's how we plug into it for X, Y, and Z, and then building a strategy out of it. So I think it's like across any organization, whenever you present any sort of marketing plan, you got to say, where does this touch the bottom line of our business? And I think when we when we went on this journey of evaluating whether this was something that we wanted to do or kind of shelve, we thought about it and very intentionally. So I
Yeah.
think the main thing is just like continuously show examples, show where it's working in other industries, and take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think also, as you're saying, showing it like any other marketing strategy and it's as serious as any other marketing strategy, I think is really useful advice. And also, then once you start doing it, report back and show how it's making an impact. So they're like part of it every step of the way. I think that's also quite helpful. So let's zoom out a bit. We've spoken a lot about memes, but I kind of want to talk about the rest of your content strategy. How do
Mhm.
memes fit into this broader strategy that you have? And I'm wondering for you specifically, are there specific platforms where memes work best and others that you purposely avoid?
Good question. So I think within our strategy, it's the sort of thing where it will be a small percentage of our posts. We haven't necessarily gone all in, but then again, that's kind of an intentional idea. We are empowering our executives and kind of doing a lot of market education on how this kind of process works, but also doing it with our portfolio companies. So I've got like a whole network of kind of meme creative vendors who are working with different portfolio companies. I think specifically for the B2C companies or B2B2C, it works really, really well because you can reach a wider audience. But another interesting thing that I've kind of read about is like Andreessen Horowitz wrote about this as well, is by putting up memes or kind of things and types of content that go viral, you're getting a lot of eyeballs back into your company.
Hmm.
So the question is, okay, right now we want to do things that a lot of people are talking about. We want to jump on trending topics, but how are we going to be ready to get those leads back into our funnel? So I think that's like where it really leads into it. It's like saying, okay, we're now going to take a tactic that's going to get a lot of eyeballs on your brand, on your posts, on your idea. You have to have the risk tolerance to do that. But once you're ready to take that decision and press post, how are you then going to link that to your landing page, to your email, to whichever kind of initiative that you're looking to go for? So that's the way, really the way I think of it. I think of it as like just another tool in our arsenal. And again, that sounds super lame to call B2B social media tools in your arsenal, but it's kind of true. It's the sort of thing which you can kind of bring from your back pocket and say, okay, right now we want to promote this event, we want to promote this blog. How are we going to get eyeballs in a different way? Like I'll give an example. Generally, when we put out kind of why we invested style blogs, we have a photo of the two founders. It's usually quite professional, looks quite sick. And I was like, the Ghibli trend was just starting on Twitter. So I put out my first post, which said, write me a LinkedIn post in Ghibli style. And I got like 800 impressions, and like no one knew what the hell I was talking about. And I think like people were texting me saying, Ilan, was your account hacked? So it's like the classic, like, see you
Yeah.
next week on LinkedIn. So we went on day two of the trend and took like the picture of the two founders, Ghiblified it, put that as like a what's it called, put that as the cover of our thing, and it did like really, really well, like better than a lot
Yeah.
of our posts. So I think it's like you can wink to the meme a lot of the times if you're not
Yeah.
ready to go full like full send on it, that's fine. You can definitely wink to it. Like I think there's a lot of really smart ways the marketers are kind of again winking to those audiences and then giving them a teaser saying, "Hey, we know we've got you. We speak your language. We're not fully there, but we're with you."
Yeah. It's nice try to find that balance of being playful and still on the serious side and
Yeah,
delivering what you need to. I can't believe we're moving on to the last question, but I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. What is the best piece of social media advice you've ever received throughout your career?
good question. I've actually got two.
Go
One
for
of
it.
them One of them is actually something my boss once said to me, and he said, or we say this to a lot of different founders who we work with. We're like, if your post sucks and it doesn't get a lot of likes or it doesn't get a lot of traction, that's fine because it means no one's read it.
Okay.
And it's so true. It's like the best way to like start is like you can't like be like licking your wounds because you didn't get the certain amount of likes that you wanted or certain amount of impressions because it meant it's almost like saying like don't take yourself too seriously, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And the second one was, and this is more like for generally for like social media managers, creators, people who work for creating for others as well as creating for themselves, is like for every five pieces of content you write for somebody else, write a piece of content for yourself. I think self-advocacy,
Hmm.
specifically in the social media role, is really important and something that doesn't necessarily happen enough. That was like from someone who I started an agency with like 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
it's really rung true because I think
Hmm.
different opportunities come when you put yourself out there. Like I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if I hadn't periodically like shared my thoughts on kind of B2B marketing, SaaS, DC,
Yeah.
and done it in a semi. I try to think it's semi playful and quite funny and consistently winking, but I think that's like the important kind of takeaway that I give a lot of people when they're starting their careers and say you can be super dedicated, but there are 24 hours in the day. If you're dedicating 10, 11, 12, 14, depending on wherever you are. Specifically, I'm speaking about startups because long hours, but you can also dedicate that half an hour to putting your thoughts down to paper and sending those out to the world. And people appreciate for that because I think not enough people think that their advice is interesting enough to others, where most of the time it's the opposite way around.
Absolutely. I think that advice is honestly also very helpful for our listeners because I know everybody who's listening does a lot of their social strategies, their companies, or their employee advocacy programs. And even myself, you forget to write for yourself and do your own thing and build your
Yeah.
own personal brand because you are doing it for the company or your employees or your advocates. So it's definitely really good advice. And like you said, you are here for a reason. So if anybody wants to connect with Ilan on LinkedIn and see why he was chosen for a B2B Socials Rising 30 star, go ahead and connect with him. You will definitely be entertained with all his content and his memeing on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Alina. Pleasure to be on the show. And yeah, looking forward to seeing your next meme.